Jonas Knox in for Clay Travis, taking you all the way up until 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 o'clock Pacific, right here on Fox Sports Radio. A busy weekend in the world of sports. Congratulations to Phil Mickelson, the oldest player ever to win a major championship. He wins the PGA Championship at Kiowa Island in South Carolina. My old stomping ground, South Carolina, back in the day. Good to see the palmettos out and everything, and all the fans there. Also, Brooks Koepka alleging he might have maybe potentially gotten hit in the knees while he was trying to get to the final hole. So all of that stuff, but congratulations to Phil Mickelson. That was the big story from the weekend in the world of sports for a lot of people. And then for some other people, the big story was these NBA playoff games. And I've noticed a theme here. Depending on who you're a fan of, there's a theme, especially after one game in the playoffs. And the theme is, if you're concerned but you don't really want to show concern, it's just one game. Don't worry about it. It's just one game. It happens. It's a long series, and I get all that. We've seen a lot of teams lose the first game of a series and then come back and be in total control. You want to go on the biggest stage, you can go all the way to Sixers-Lakers in the finals. Allen Iverson hits that dagger, steps over the corpse of Ty Lue, and then the Philadelphia 76ers proceed to win the game only to get dismantled the rest of the series. We've seen it. All right, I can remember a couple of years ago, Orlando beat Toronto in Game 1 of the playoffs. And then Toronto went on to win the NBA Finals. So we've seen this stuff. We've seen teams throughout the course of history lose the first game and be fine. It's one of the things that the NBA has going for them. It's the advantage. They have margin for error. You can lose one game in the NBA playoffs. Hell, you can lose 3 games and your season's not over. You don't get that in some other sports like the NFL. So in the NBA, there's some wiggle room. You can lose a game. You can even get blown out. Not a big deal. It's just one game. But then there are some of these situations in which it's not just one game. It's over. You could tell early on, this is a bad matchup. Be concerned because this is how the series is going to go moving forward. So I thought, why don't we do this? Why don't we go through every single series in the NBA playoffs? We're all one game into them, and we will ask the question, is it just one game or is it over? Is there cause for concern? And we will do so with the man with one of the great set of radio pipes in the history of radio, the great Danny G.
Why, thank you, Jonas. We'll start with Saturday's action. Is it just one game or is it over? The Bucks, they saw Middleton drain that game-winning overtime shot there, 109-107. Is it just one game for the Heat or is it over?
No, it's just one game. The Miami Heat will always be a pain in the ass. They're that team, and I was trying to think about a comp to the Miami Heat, a team to where it doesn't matter whether or not they're legitimate title contenders, whether or not they've got superstar players. When you see them on the schedule, you just know this is going to be a problem. And I was trying to think of the NFL equivalent to it, and I think they're the Baltimore Ravens. Doesn't it seem like the Ravens are always an issue? Like, when you see them, it's never just an easy game. There's never just a year you look at it and go, man, I'd love to play the Ravens. They just feel like they figure it out, and they figure it out at the right time. It's why they've been one of the more successful franchises over the past several years. So I think it's just one game. I think this is going to be a really fun series. I think Miami's a problem no matter where they are.
For Sports Cliche 101, they are a scrappy bunch.
Damn right.
All right, and a lot of us smiling in the studios here because of Ben Maller. And it's not that we hate the Clippers. We hate his fandom for the Clippers. They got smacked around by Luka on Saturday, 113-103 as Luka dropped 31 on the Zippers. Should they be worried? Is it just one game or is it over?
Hold on a second. The Zippers?
Yeah, because they've won zip.
Okay, very good. All right, there he is. What a class act, that Danny G. Just stepping on more graves here. I'm going to say it's just one game. I will say it's just one game. Because, first of all, I was seeing reports that Luka and Kristaps Porzingis don't even like each other. And by the way, is Kristaps Porzingis losing weight? Like, he looks skinnier than normal. Like, I was making the point this week, and he looks like a pool noodle. Like, he literally looks like he's thinner than back when he was playing, when he first got into the league with the New York Knicks, and everyone said, oh, my God, his frame, he can't hold up. But never mind all that. I think the Clippers are going to figure this thing out, and I'll be honest with you, the Clippers have to figure this thing out because I picked them to win the title in my Fox Sports Radio Bracket Challenge. All right, so the Clippers have to win, or else I'm going to get murdered on social media. So I'm going to go with it's just one game.
Yeah, and on that bracket challenge, it looks like you cheated off of Ben Maller's page.
Look, man, overnight radio hosts think alike. What do you want from me? You know, when you do a show constantly and the streetlights are on every single time you talk into a mic, I mean, you deal with weird people and it does weird things to your mind. I don't know what to tell you.
Let's move over to one of the favorites, the Nets. They did what we thought they would. They beat the Celtics 104-93. Harden dropped 21, 9, and 8. Is this over for the Celtics, or is it just one game?
Yeah, you can go ahead and start printing the toe tags. That's a wrap. They were up against it, and they played well. The Celtics have been sort of hot and cold all season. They're the epitome of a 500 basketball team because they would go on a 3-game stretch and look great, and then they'd lose 3 in a row. They'd come up with a big win against one of the top teams in the league, and then they'd lose to a bottom feeder the next night out or the next game out. They're the epitome of a 500 team. They played as well as you could. They got contributions from some other guys. Jason Tatum is always a threat, but if they get more than one game, I would consider it a success. The Nets didn't even look great and still came away with a double-digit win. I think this is over and the Nets are moving on.
All right, and finally from Saturday, the Trailblazers stay hot. Dame, Oakland's finest, with 34 points. The Joker looked good. He stayed in his MVP form with 34 points and 16 boards. But the Nuggets lost to the Blazers 123-109. Is it just one game for the Nuggets, or is this over?
I think it's over, man. I really do. I just...
Really?
Yeah, there's something about this Blazers team and Dame Lillard, and I think he was talking about, like, one of the problems with them is that they would, first of all, defense is always an issue. But one of the points that he made was it feels like a more mature team, almost like they're ready for this moment. They're ready to be here. Just to see the way that game played out, Jamal Murray, I think, the loss of Jamal Murray, I think, is going to really show its head in the postseason. And I think this is a problem for Denver. I think they're in trouble. I think Portland's going to get hot, and Portland's one of those teams you don't want to deal with. Dame Lillard, he gets hot, and it's a major issue for a lot of people. I think Denver's in trouble. I think Portland's going to win this series.
All right, let's move over to Sunday's action. Early, the only surprise here was that Embiid wasn't the high scorer. Tobias Harris was for the 76ers as they beat the Wizards 125-118. Is this just one game for the Wizards and their fans, or is it over?
No, it's over. Listen, it's done. It's a wrap. I love Bradley Beal. He's had an awesome year. Russell Westbrook's always fun to watch, and you're never quite sure what the hell you're going to get with him in the postseason. But Philadelphia is just a be team.
Yeah, and Beal was on. He had 33 and 10, I want to say.
Beal is awesome. And I think, what did he average this year? He was over a 30-point-a-game score. I think he was right behind Steph Curry in the scoring title. Bradley Beal, awesome year. I just think it's done. I think they waited too long to get hot. They did figure it out late in the season. Because you remember, there was a lot of conversations about the Lakers trading for Beal. Like the Wizards, they were out of it. Why are you going to keep your star? Why are you going to hold him hostage? Get something for him. And then they started to figure it out and play well. Unfortunately, I think it's too little too late. And the 76ers were great from start to finish. And I think it's over for Washington. Philly's moving on.
All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off here and get this one over with. LeBron had 18 points and 7 rebounds. Devin Booker was the star yesterday with 34 points. 99-90, the Suns walk away with Game 1. Is it just one game for the Lakers, or should Laker fans be worried because it's over?
Well, listen, LeBron James violated NBA protocols by being at a tequila party last week. And the good news is he won't have to worry about violating NBA protocols for much longer because it's over.
Oh, shut your mouth.
This is over. Yeah. This is a wrap. Close the coffin on the Los Angeles Lakers. This is a problem.
Okay, Mallard Jr.
Look, I did not say that the Lakers would win. No, I'm telling you, man. You watch that game, LeBron's nowhere close to 100%. Like, it's not even, and I'm not trying to make excuses for the guys. It's clear he's nowhere close to 100%. Anthony Davis, you can't count on him. And if you don't have both of those guys playing really, really well, who's the third option? It feels like this team, whether it's exhausting or exhaustion based on last year, it just doesn't look good, and the Suns just come at you in waves. And I looked at that game yesterday, and I said, man, I don't think they're getting out of this series. I really don't.
I think the bigger issue right now is the Lakers coaching, because Drummond clogs the lane, and you saw AD sitting out there taking long jump shots and a lot of ISO ball. That is not the way to go for the Lakers. So I would get Anthony Davis underneath the rim and get the Lakers running. That's the way they're going to beat the Suns. So we'll see if they make some adjustments going into Game 2.
I totally agree. I would have LeBron at the 1, Anthony Davis at the 5.
Yeah,
literally.
Him at the 4 is whack.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, let's go to Jason Smith's Knicks. Oh, it was heartbreak there. It was heartbreak at the Garden, as they were giving it to Trae Young all game long. Well, Trae Young hit that floater to win the game, 107-105. Is it just one game, or is it over for Jason Smith and his fellow New York Knicks fans?
Yeah. Find yourself a Euro cart or a gyro cart where they serve street meat on the streets of Manhattan, and go get you a couple Knicks fans, because that is a wrap. This series is over. And look, Charles Barkley said it best after the game, and I was thinking the same thing watching it. When you're watching that game, it was obvious the Hawks just had better players. They just had better players. It's a great story. I love the story of the Knicks. I love that they're back. I said it earlier. It was great watching playoff basketball, but it just feels like when the Hawks want to get a basket, they're going to get a basket. Like, if they want to get a basket, it's going to happen. And the Knicks were awesome defensively, but at some point you have to acknowledge better players, by and large, win, especially in the NBA. I think the Hawks have better players. Great story. Love that it's happening. It's a little ironic that all of a sudden fans are allowed back inside Madison Square Garden. I don't know if the timing has anything to do with it, but it feels like, it's weird that all of a sudden everybody we're good now. We don't have to socially distance right around playoff time when they can make some money. But never mind. I'm not trying to start any controversies here. But I watched that game. I go, Atlanta's got better players. The Knicks are a great story, but I think it's done. I think Atlanta's winning this series.
All right, and finally, maybe the biggest surprise of the NBA weekend, Dillon Brooks, 31-7, leading Memphis past the highly favored Utah Jazz, 112-109. Is this just one game for the Jazz, or is it over? It kind of seems funny to ask that question.
This is the toughest
one. I mean, a lot of
one.
people had the Warriors in, not the Grizzlies to begin with.
I know. This is the toughest one, because when Mitchell missed a playoff game, so you know they're going to do whatever they can to try and get him out there. It's the playoffs, so you don't mess around with this stuff. The fact that he wasn't good enough to go in a playoff game tells me the injury is at least severe enough that he just couldn't get out. It wasn't happening. And the fact that it's not happening at the most important game of the season, unless they look at this and go, we're so much better than Memphis that we can afford to give up one if we lose, and then we can try. I don't know why you want to play that game, especially when you get to the postseason. But I'm going to go with I'm going to say it's just one game, but this is the one that I have the most difficult time determining, because I watched last night, and without Donovan Mitchell, it's clear that there's a mismatch there, and Memphis was having their way at times with them, and I want to see how Donovan Mitchell looks, because the fact that he missed a playoff game at home after they were sitting around and you saw Memphis come out and do what they did, that tells me this injury is more significant. So I'm assuming he will be back. I'm not totally comfortable or confident in this pick, but I'm just going to say it's one game now out of respect because they did have the best record in the NBA. And I'll go with that.
And by the way, how fun is it to watch Ja Morant play?
Oh,
one of the
God.
best young superstars coming up in the league. Every time he flies around the rim, he reminds me of like a young Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah. No, that's and also I was thinking people were upset that the Warriors didn't make it into the playoffs, and they said, "Oh, great! Now you're not going to get to see Steph Curry in the postseason." It's not the worst thing in the world. At some point, just like golf, you got to introduce new stars. I think Ja Morant's going to play for an audience he never had before. He never had this audience before, and I think people are getting to see how much fun that guy is to watch.